There you go. So Shift D, which changes my drawing mode to draw behind mode. And then I'm going to add a new layer, Command L, because Illustrator treats a layer as an actual drawing object. Man, I need a beard trim. Just checking that out. We're going to go big with the thing and less big with me. Now we're starting. Okay, and then I'm just going to use the proxy region here to drag that content onto the layer. Double click, let's give it a name, trace, and let's change it to a template layer. I'm going to dim this down to 30%, I think. 50% is probably not going to cut it. There we go. That looks all right, because there's a lot of dark in there, okay, that we can see. Okay, so let's have a look at how we are going to approach this. Let's make a layer one. Let's give that a name, draw as well, because it's just good practice to do so. Okay, and then we're going to plot some points to draw out this body. So for that, I'm going to use my favorite plotting tool, the curvature pen tool. If you've not used this tool, you really should have a play with it. It's my default drawing tool these days. Very rarely do I use the pen tool, native pen tool, because this is just so efficient. Just in case you are in a situation where you've not used it before, let's just have a quick look at how it works, right? So the regular pen tool, let me just choose that just for a second. The regular pen tool, if you simply click with that, okay, you create straight points. Let me just increase that stroke so you can see it. Or straight segments between points. If you click and drag, then you create control handles, which control the angle and speed of a curve, okay, like so. So you can create those control handles, which you can break, as I have just done now, and start whole different things off and all of that. If you want to reposition a point once you've drawn it, you need to switch to a different tool, like the direct selection tool, and move that, and then go back to your pen tool. Okay, reconnect with the path in all likelihood. Yeah, and then carry on drawing. If you're plotting a point while you're drawing, so my trackpad, I'm using a trackpad. My trackpad is pressed down at the moment. Hold down the space bar and then you can move the point like so if you want to do that. Okay, so, and that's standard with pretty much all of the Illustrator drawing tools. So that's how the regular pen tool works. So potentially you end up using two tools, okay, to draw, and you've got to manage control handles and all of that other stuff. Let's delete that path and contrast that with the curvature pen tool. On an English keyboard, British or American, Shift backtick or Shift tilde will get you the tool. That's the accelerator for it. In whatever keyboard layout you're using, if you don't know what it is, just hover over it in the toolbox there and it will tell you what it is. Okay, so contrasting what I'm going to do then. So let's click here. Now I'm looking at this as a single curve, and this would be the top of the curve just here. So I'm drawing in the middle of these two line segments here. Okay, so for the curve of the neck, I consider this to be the top. Or if you want to be posh about it, the maxima, okay, of the curve. But let's not be posh about it today. And then I'm going to click again, and a curve is drawn. No dragging handles. At any point, you can go and grab any other point and reposition it, right, without using a different tool. You can do this entirely one-handed, which for some Illustrator users is the case. Yeah, so it makes things easier. I was very critical of a friend of mine who was posting, who shall remain nameless so that we're still friends, who was posting something on social media and saying about having to learn the shortcuts. It's just not always the case that you can. Yeah, or that you can't really be efficient in Illustrator without learning shortcuts. And I don't think that's particularly true. They are more efficient, but if you can't use them, there are other ways too. So I'm just going to follow this around, and what I'm doing is trying to look at the curves. I don't have to be too cautious with it, so I'm just making my way around. Like I said, if it's not working the way you want it to work, go back and move any of the points like so. If you think it could do with an additional point, then just go to the line. So I'm going to go just here and click, and you add an additional point. If you think it's got a point that you don't want, then just click on the point to make it active. You can hopefully see there the active point and hit delete, and it goes away and the curve gets resolved between the points before it. Okay. Now I accidentally disassociated from that line, right? So here we go. If I just make my way around like so, this gets a little bit more complex here in the small curves. But again, I am not overly worried. So I've drawn that around like so. Now I'm just going to go in and have a look here and just kind of pull these around a little bit. Okay. And just getting the line to the way I want it to be. Once I've done that, I'm going to, actually normally I might increase the stroke slightly here. Okay, but I think I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to hit escape just to stop myself from drawing there. And what I'm going to do now is tap or hold down shift and hit W on my keyboard, or go to the toolbox and you'll find it the width tool here. My toolbox is upside down because it's a fake toolbox, but don't worry about that. And then start to work with the width tool. So I'm going to go to this end, okay, of the line here. Now I can see already that I'm going to have a couple of small problems there because of the angle of this. So I'm going to go and tap A on my keyboard and click on that point there, and then I'm going to get the control handle and bring that around. This point needs to be removed, so I'm going to switch to the curvature pen tool here, and I'm just going to hit delete and get this to conform the way I want it to go, that way. Okay. It doesn't mean, so when, you know, I do get people who say to me, you know, I need my anchor points. I like my anchor points. I've worked with anchor points for ages. I don't want to not have handles. You can see I'm still using handles. For some reason, I'm not seeing handles. So maybe I've used a shortcut somewhere here that's hiding my handles. Ah, it's because I'm using the group selection tool. There we go. Not the direct selection tool. So let's go and try, and there we go. That's much better now. That's good, just there. See, it was easy to plot with the curvature pen tool. Yeah, so you can see I got the best of both worlds out of using that. Anyway, back to the width tool. So Shift W for that, and I'm going to move down the path a bit here and make that a bit wider. Now that's working quite well in terms of a nice shape there. By the way, you might also be able to hear in my voice that I've got a cold. So sorry, and if I do have to mute from time to time, I also apologise for that. So what I want to do here is I want to change this asymmetrically, and that is achieved, okay, by using the Alt or Option key to do that. Now, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and change this back end here just a bit, okay, before I go changing this one. So I'm going to this width point. You can see it just here. If I want to, I can pull that one out a bit more. Okay, the things I'm watching for, just so you know, okay, are this curve just on the edge here, not the actual vectors, the lines here, but the curves on the edge. So I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key so I can do this asymmetrically and pull out just a bit here. I think that's going to need a bit more just down here. Now this width point can move along the line, so I can go ahead and move that, and you can see the effect that that is having on the body. Now I'm not drawing exactly to the sketch underneath. It's a sketch. The clue is in the name, right? So I'm keeping that together. There we go. And I think just here I could do with a bit of an asymmetrical bend. Just there. And also at the top. With a little bit of patience, you know, you probably could achieve the curves of the actual sketch under there. I just don't want it to look too plasticine-y, squishy, squashy. So this end right up here, I'm going to bring this in so it's to a point. Now I am going to make that sort of shape for the tail, but I'm not going to do it at this particular point. Okay, I'm just going to get that around like so. Then have a look at that. Let's do a quick save. We'll drop that out on the desktop. Like so. Okay. Groovy. So there we are. Now we've got that shape. Okay, just a little bit more here. So that looks a bit lumpy at that point there. So I'm going to get the Option key and just pull that side in. I think I actually need to pull this side across. So I'd like it to be a nice smooth transition. There, whenever I'm streaming, I've got my tablet in a really, my Cintiq in a really odd position. It's not the easiest to see sometimes. Anyway, right. So using those that handful of tools, right. So we use the curvature pen tool just there, and then we use the direct selection tool to just make a couple of modifications to the points. Then we additionally use the width tool with the with and without the Option key held down, okay, to create this shape, which I think is pretty close. Now I'm going to outline this path, so change it from being a path to being a shape. I have a shortcut for that on my system, but if you don't, okay, you can go to Path, Outline, Stroke. Right, so let's chat more draw, I think is the order of the day. I'm going to swap the fill and stroke over. So I'm holding down Shift on my keyboard, tapping X to transpose the fill and the stroke like so. Okay, so now we've got those nice outlines. Normally, I make the outlines very big, so it's easy for you to see if you're watching on the phone, right? But this time I'm going to keep it reasonable. Now, I've got a kinky line just here, and I've also got a little bit of a glitch going on in Illustrator, which is being caused by Google Chrome. So off you go, Google Chrome. Right, so now that should start working again there nicely. Right, okay, there are, if you just let's switch into outline mode here, so you can have a look at this. Now sometimes this happens when you're using a combination of close points and also the width tool. I'm going to zoom in still further, so quite a long way, like so. And look at that. Can you see I've created a loop out here inadvertently? So I'd need to resolve that in some way, okay, on both sides. The way I would do it is switch to the scissors tool. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a small snip just there, go ahead of that and make a small snip just there, then delete this segment, okay, so that I can then fix that. Now I'll just take a quick look at the line segment there just to make sure it's not got any other sort of deviation in it. It has actually, and by deviation I mean going off to the side. Okay, so I'm just going to hit delete a couple of times to get rid of those points. I then need to connect those two things together. I'm so sorry to bring that back into play, but I'm going to snip this one here first, just on both sides there. So that's something you need to look for. If you're getting those big jagged things and you're not expecting them like that, dive in and have a look. Right, as you know, in my normal professional practice, I use plugins from Astute Graphics a lot. And normally that is how I would reconnect these two lines. Okay, I'd switch, there's a thing called the connect tool, and I would click between 1 and 2 and it would take the curve into account and work that way. But here I could just as easily use the curvature pen tool. I can go to that point just there, the anchor point, and then go across to this one and join like so, and then it's already recognized this is part of that path, and you can see that that is preserved. It's not my favorite way of doing it. My favorite way is using the plugin. All right, so now we've got that shape. That's very useful indeed. And I could do, I think I'm actually going to go ahead and draw the head shape here as well. So I could go with that and snip the path at those 2 points, get my selection tool, pick up that thing there. It does actually leave, when you do it that way, it does actually leave a couple of redundant points. That needs cutting a bit further back. So the way that I worked it with the curvature pen tool did work, yeah, but sometimes you need to get in. I'm going to cut that even further back, I think. Mind you, that'll be okay. So curvature pen tool now to actually draw. So I'm just going to click away like so. By the way, I'm just double clicking on this point, so that allows me to draw a straight line segment like so, because I do happen to want a straight line segment there. Double click there, and then I can carry on drawing a curve. You see, if I just click now, it looks like it's drawn a straight line segment, but as soon as I put another point in, it switches to a curve. Now you might think, oh, he's going to undo that, but I'm not. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this point and pull it to where I want it to be. And in fact, I'm going to grab this point and pull that to where I want it to be as well. So you get the best of both worlds. It is the most flexible tool. If you're not using it, what is up? Reverb Mike, is your last name Russell by any chance? I want to know. No, actually, you probably can't tell me that. You'd have to message me separately. I don't know if you're that Mike. So I'm double clicking here. Right, there's something gone on just there, so I need to resolve that. There's too many points down in that region. This is another thing, the curvature pen tool. The regular pen tool, it doesn't care how many points you use, right? But the curvature pen tool helps you to optimize your lines as well, which is good news. So here, do I really need that point? Delete it. Yes, I do. So just undo that delete. Try this one. Delete it. Yes, I do. So there we are. Okay, it's a handy thing to have. It's not you. Okay. But thank you for indulging me in asking. So, and now it's just a matter of making my way around this. There are going to be a few things that need to be corrected here. This is very, very small for this stroke weight. In fact, I'm going to bring that down. Somebody asked me a little while ago, how do you do that? How do you change your stroke, okay, while you're actively drawing? And the answer is, I just scroll over that field. I'm using a trackpad, so it's really easy to do that because it doesn't have to be clicked across or anything like that. But even with a mouse, you can move over that, scroll with your mouse wheel, change that value. So here I am just doing these recurring lines or recursive lines, whichever way, by just clicking a single point in between. You can see how that's worked. Well, there I used a couple actually. Let's just see if I needed those. No, actually didn't need that one. Do I need this one? Yes, for what I want. There's some here that could probably go, mind, in construction. Again, this is something using the plugins that I use. I have a tool for this as well. I run it once I've done a drawing. A thing called Vector First Aid analyzes it, fixes all that stuff. So you've got it moving around. I think I redrew this snout a few times this morning when I was drawing this. Tight curve there. That's going to be problematic. It is. So I'm just moving these around. Right, I'm going to this point here. Now, you might have to look carefully. There's not a lot I can do about the stroke preview there. So I've double clicked there. That gives me the type of point I want. Okay, the limbs, they are going to come along later. Let's go ahead and work on this thing up here. So I need this tail spike business. Now, I want to draw this point away from that and then come along and connect it with this line segment here. So I'm going to do that and bring that one in. I'm going to double click on that point so I can change direction. See, that shouldn't be, I've just done that and it's going to be too sharp, so I'm just going to undo just there. A couple of times I accidentally connected with the path. Hitting the escape key and clicking on the other end of the path. This is sometimes what you have to do. And I'm going to click well away like that, so I don't connect with the path underneath. And then a small point here, another point over here, bring that in. Da-da. There we go. Do you know, really that should be more curved than it currently is over on the other side, on the left hand side. Bringing that point into place here, just adding another point like so. I think maybe getting rid of this one in the middle. Yep, get rid of this one on the end. So let's see how that resolves. Don't mind the shape of that at all. Now I've changed completely the end of this this particular shape. I'm going to model it a bit further in a minute, so I'm just going to tap V on my keyboard, okay, to go back out to that. Then I'm going to cut some of this path up. So again, with the scissors tool, to make a couple of snips here and there, selection tool, grab those bits there, and then reconnect these and just do that little bit of modeling on these. So switching to my curvature pen tool, just there, and there's a bump in that I don't want. Bring that closer up to the top. There we go, that's much smoother. There, escape key. Well, actually no, I'm in exactly the right place for me to connect with that, so let's connect with that. Now I'm just going to undo, because I don't know if you saw that, but it started to change the shape of that line. So I'm going to click, I'm going to zoom right in, and to click in between, and then go to this point here. And then I can fix that with deleting it, which sounds weird, right, because it was there and now I'm deleting points. And that's sometimes how it works, and it's still faster, in my opinion, than the traditional pen tool way. And if you're a Photoshop user, primarily, Ian's on both chats, that's so cool. If you're a Photoshop user in the main, or if you use Photoshop in addition to Illustrator, then as many of us do, of course, then you'll be pleased to know that Photoshop has a curvature pen tool as well. That's looking okay, I think. Good. Right, we're there with that. So quick save just to update that. Now let's go ahead and make some of these other shapes. So how I'm going to do that, here's for funds. Okay, I am going to first of all create the main mass of the shape. So to do that, I'm going to go Object, Path, Outline Stroke, Offset Path, not as an effect, as a command, because I want it to copy. Right, this is doing pretty much what I want it to at the moment, just here. So I might just go one more. Yes, that looks good. Oh no, it doesn't. I'm just going to increase that. That tail's looking very, very shaky. I might have another way to fix that in a second. So I'm going to go at -6 on the inside. I'm then going to get to my group selection tool. So that lives with the direct selection tool here. And then I'm just going to click some parts, delete that bit. I've got a little triangle just here. I'm going to delete that too. Now that I've got this nice inside line, I am going to double click on it, which takes me into isolation mode. Then I'm going to do something that you might think is strange. Dun, dun, dun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my line tool. Okay, so backslash to get the line tool. Then I'm just going to make a way, draw a line like so. I'm going to increase the weight of that till it's, whoops, I've got the line going on both things because I'm in isolation mode. Let me just undo that till we get to there. Okay, let's just have this element there. I'm going to make sure I've only got this selected. That should, that's going to change everything. Okay, fine. That line will do anyway. It's because inside here it's creating a compound shape. So I'm going to cut that, I'm going to double click outside of it, and then just tell it not to be a compound path. Okay, so I can do that in a few different ways, but right clicking is the best way to do it. That means maybe somewhere inside of there, okay, is another small shape. Okay, it's one way to find out. Change the color of the stroke. like so. Send the main stroke to the back. No, it's just what I would call an incidental path. Okay, so now I can double click on this, go into isolation mode. Then I'm going to paste in front that stroke just there, increase the weight of that. Okay, you'll notice it's only changing that stroke now. That was how I knew it was generating me a compound path. And then I'm going to get the line tool and just draw straight lines like this at the places where I think they should be. Okay, and I know that in my sketch they're curved, but you'll just have to bear with me on this. I'm trying to make this easy for you, even if you're not sort of a proficient yet Illustrator user. Yeah, that's kind of the aim of the game, really, is to get you using Illustrator a bit more. I'm going to draw this one to that point there, because when it connects with that path, draw this one across like so. This one I can speed up a little bit now. I'm looking forward to working in the new setup at the new studio. We've got a network clock, which is groovy. It connects to a time server and apparently gives us super accurate time. Okay, I've drawn this here. I can then get hold of these endpoints if I want to. That's not going to work bringing that to that point there. So, okay, that will... Let's do one more across here. Deviate slightly from the sketch just for this, just for you. So I've got those strokes there. I am going to select all of those, and I'm going to do that by going select same stroke weight. You're going to notice loads of other things in some of my menus, so don't be put off by that if you are new to Illustrator. It's just a thing. Okay, just because I've got plugins and I can't hide them from the menu system. But there we go. Actually, do you know what a better thing might be to do? No, I'm going to stick with this as it is. I'm then going to outline those strokes. So object, path, outline stroke. So now they're outlined. I'm then going to use my path or my shapes mode from the pathfinders to turn them into one shape. Now I'm going to select all of the things I've got there and punch those out like so. And you can see it's drawn me all of that good stuff. Shift X if I wanted to swap those over, by the way, and do that, which, you know, might be an option for me at some later point. So that's that drawn. I'm going to double click outside of that, quick save as well. In fact, if I get those and just pump up that weight again, just a fraction, so it's easier for you to see what I've done there. Now I do want, only because I think it makes a nice shape, this piece in here. So that is something I'll probably draw that on later on rather than doing it right now. We'll see how we go on for time because we've got 40 minutes left. Okay, so I just want to put that bit in because I do like that. So the idea here is that there's various things from the universe in which this creature's mythology comes from. There's a comet, which is the eye just there, and then there's different planets in their system with moons, and maybe one with a ring. All of that stuff just there. So I've got this thing just here as well, sort of a triquetra thing that I'm going to do there. In fact, we could do that first, and then we'll go on to the sun, or do the sun first. Let's do that. That gets us closer to complete. So I'm just going to choose a point at which to start drawing. I don't think the smart guide's going to help me particularly there. Oh, I don't know. I was wrong. I take it back, smart guide. And then just nudge this into point using the arrow keys on my keyboard, or into point, into place, just to get that around about there. That's good. Then offset path, object path, offset path, and again bring this down by a negative amount here. So it needs to be a similar weight, I think, maybe just a bit heavier. Okay, for that outside piece, and again once more with that. So do that again. Now if I was using plugins, which of course you know I'm trying not to. So it's nice and easy for you to see. If I was using plugins, I would be able to do that in one step, even if it was an open path. So good. Okay, that's going to give us everything we need. So we can draw that radiant shape there, I guess. In fact, it might be an idea to just have, I'm going to copy and paste this. So it's Command C, Command F to paste it in front, Control C, Control F if you're working on with that. And then I'm just going to bring this out a bit, make it a bit bigger. There we go. I'll change the colour so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. Let's make that very, very, very magenta. Just there. Cool, cool, cool. So now I've got that, we need to create this other shape here. There's a few different ways we could do it. I think I'm just going to use the line tool. So I'm just going to draw a couple of lines. So I'll get that one into place like so. Draw another one from there, take that up. Now, this might be a place, Richard, where I might use Command J or Control J just on there. So that might be something that could occur there. I would switch to the curvature pen, to the lasso tool, target those things, use the average command here, set it to both. Okay, so align to the horizontal and vertical, just so there's no surprises in the shape there, and then Command J or Control J to fit that together. Cool. Oh man, I just realised I didn't bend those shapes around. Oh, I can do that in a second though, so that's fine. I'll bend them around here. This is what I should have done with the other one. Okay, so Shift C gets me the convert point tool or the curvature tool here. So let's go ahead and bring that in like so. I'm going to get the, there we go, nice. Just going to change that corner radius like that. Going to get the path underneath and make a couple of snips on that. So I'm going to go to the same place just there and also just here. Can delete all of the extra stuff there. Select both of those and Command J and Command J one more time. I think I need to round those off a little bit. So I've got my direct selection tool for that. This is where Command J has bitten me. Let me just undo. With that extra line segment, I need to align those points. So I'm going to do the same here and then Command J. Let's have a look at that. There you go. Can you see the difference? So Alt Command or Alt Control J to get to the average command. Okay, and then Command J or Control J to create that. Cool. That works very well. I'm going to swap the fill and stroke around. So Shift X gives me that. That's groovy. Like so. I could colour that white, but I'm going to need it transparent later on. Anyway, now that I've got that shape, I want to create some more around here. How many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Okay, well that makes it really, really easy. So first of all, I need to make sure that I've got the whole object selected, not just the path. Then I need to make sure that I can see the center of this circle. Now I can right now, okay, but if I switch to the rotate tool, the Smart Guide is showing me that, but you know what? It doesn't always do that. So how do you get around it with that? Well, what you can do, right, it is showing me a center point there when it's selected. You can always try going to the attributes panel in window menu, okay, and go to the show options just here, okay, and you've got this option here, show center. When you click on that, okay, it will show you a center for the, or it should show you a center for the object. I think that's actually got a fill, hasn't it? Or maybe not. Anyway, it should be showing me. It should be showing me a center right now. Anyway, I'm going to use the Smart Guide. So option click just there, setting the transformation point, calling up the rotate dialog. Okay, so I am going to do 360 degrees divided by 12. most of us can know what that actual number of degrees is, right? But it's worth pointing out to new users, okay, and some older users, that you can do that. Never forget that you're sat in front of a massive calculator. Okay, so that's going to do that, right? I'm not going to click copy because you're ninjas. You'd laugh at me if I did that. So what I am going to do is hold down the Alt or Option key and hit return. That creates me a copy, and then Command or Control D to make my way around like so. Yes, that is pretty good. This is very, very strange because of the heavy stroke weight on here. I think I'm going to have to make this just a bit smaller. There we go. Something like that. We can be flexible, right? So I'm going to select both of those, Command 8 to turn them into a compound path, Control 8 on Windows, Shift X to swap the fill and stroke over. Okay, then I could get all of these things. So let's grab this one, select same fill color. So that gives us all of those. Hold down Shift, select that thing just there. Okay, and then I could turn it, well, it's a number of different ways. I'm just going to use the live paint, the shape builder tool, holding down the Option key, punching those out. Like so, just wakey, walking my way around. There we are, just to get to that shape. Done. Saved yourself a bit of time there. If I go ahead now and pull this in, you can see this is what I should have done with those strokes before I punched them out. I should have bent these around just a bit to give them a bit more curve, but I forgot. So, you know, here I'm just doing it manually. So there might be some variation in the weight, but that's a good thing. In order to preserve the form of the thing we're drawing here, I think I need to bend those out like so. Let's do this eye while we're here, which of course is a comet, so that's pretty simple. That's just another circle, so I'm just holding down Alt or Option to drag that out. I'm going to go for the line tool here, draw a few lines. I'll bend these ones as well because they don't need to be dead straight. So let's bend that out like that. Let's put one short one here. I think what would look nice if these were rounded on the end. So let's go ahead and get the rounded end caps. Go to stroke, rounded end caps like so. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to turn those into shapes. My shortcut for that is Option Command O. Not a native shortcut, but easy to change if you want to change yours. Okay. So now I need to draw this ear segment here is going to have to change because that needs a gap in it. So to do that, I'm going to get my curvature pen tool. I'm going to click away to start off with, then drag the point down to here. I'm actually going to put another point over on the side here and then just work by pulling these around. Let's swap the fill and stroke over. You see that? So I kind of did it the opposite way around. That works very well, I think. And then just moving those around. I always forget to check if in the document type I'm using, if snap to pixel is on. And it really bugs me. And I just, for safety, go in and turn these things off. Because it seems to be persistent because of the many levels of snap to point and snap to pixel that were introduced into Illustrator about 7 years ago. Let's just hit the escape key to stop drawing there. Okay, and increase the stroke weight. There, nice. I am going to outline that particular path. Actually no, if I do that, this isn't outlined yet, is it? Choices. So I'm going to undo that so it is still a path just for the time being. Or no, I will outline it. No, I won't. I'll make up my mind in a moment. I'm going to leave it for a second, but that is going to need to form its own, and I'll need to outline it so I can pull this small edge away here. Can you see that? And also over here, things to look out for. Right, so we can go ahead. I'm not going to actually use the the ellipse tool here for this now. I'm going to actually draw these, so I'm going to use N for the pencil tool on my keyboard. I'm going to double click and I'm going to make it smoothed. I've got the option key to toggles to smooth tool enabled here as well if I want to. So I'm just going to draw these, waiting for that close icon. There we go. And let's get around and draw some of these really quickly. I know that's touching the line, but it's not touching the line if you're looking at it in the way that I am. Just holding down the command key to select that one. It's not as smooth as I would like. So this is where that option key to smooth comes in. There we go. So I'm just holding that down and brushing across that. And then I end up with something that is smooth. Zoom out a bit, like so. Down to here. So this one has a moon. Getting it now? You're seeing where it's just coming from? Imperfect circles are trendy. They are trendy. People are getting a bit wary of I'm trying to determine where to draw this thing here. People are getting a bit wary of stuff like that, especially all the a lot of people freaking out about the AI illustration stuff like Midjourney, DALL-E. Have you seen those things? And I think people push back against it. You know, I don't think ordinary day-to-day punters, as it might be described, I don't think they like it either. I have not got my glove here today. Stupid Tony. My hand just does not travel across this screen as well as it should. Then again, I can always come in and smooth this out. You see, that's not joined. So what I will do is I will redraw that segment and take it up to that point there. Let's see if it drew it. Nope. Bad. Oh dear. Let's take out a chunk of path. Just there. Oops a daisy. And just there. Nice. Pick up that one. Oh man, I did it twice, didn't I? So it's made me a whole bunch of points on here. So I'm going to finish this one off with a curvature pencil. There we go, done. This one needs its little line across here. Now I could enhance this, of course, by adding a width profile to it, if I wanted to. I don't have a suitable width profile there really at the moment, but that's something I could do. I'm going to do the small line across here. I'm going to use the line tool to do that. Just draw this one like so. Just put some end cappage on there, like that. Move that across. That's nearly nice. I think I'll use the arrow keys just to move that into place. There we go. And I am going to outline that, or I will do in a moment. Nice. We'll get back to that triquetra, I think. We're going to have to do some limbs very shortly, so I'll carry on drawing these circles just here. Oops. If you heard that, my foot slipped off the ring of my chair. And I hit my ankle. Yeah, that didn't close. I'm going to delete that. Zoom in. So what I should be watching for is that little close icon, just to tell me that it's going to create me a continuous path. By the way, in this part of the Cosmo Dragon, he's decided to move away from planets and actually look at bowling instead. Just go for that. There we are. And just down here. Oh, actually, no, because I'm going to be putting that leg part there. Ta-da. I'm going to show you very shortly how I can add that's another one. I didn't wait for it to close, or watch for it to close, more importantly. There we go. Around. Okay, so we're pretty good on there. Let's zoom out. Let's save that for the moment. I'm so sorry. Okay, it's time to actually start bringing this thing together. So I'm going to swap. I'm going to change the color of this just for the moment. So I'm going to change that to magenta and Shift X to swap that around for the color like so. Okay, I'm going to select this outline path. I'm also going to change the color of that. Okay, let's go. Oh, wow. I mean, it's not the final color, but I don't want to use it in that way. Okay, then I'm going to select the same stroke color just here, I think. So I could use this icon here to select similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's me using the arrow keys, by the way, to move that around. I'm not starting singing a UK sub song. Look that up if you want to. Let me just outline that stroke. Good, good, good. And I'm actually going to unite those as one thing. And just to be more efficient, I'm going to punch that one out of that. Oh, it's not going to work. I thought I might make myself a nice, easy job just then. I'm going to select this one, outline that stroke. Ooh, not quite, actually. I don't know if you saw why I suddenly changed that. But it's because there's overhang in a couple of places and I need to get rid of it. That's fine, I can resolve that from there, and here I need to just get that outside of the shape. Then I can outline that. Then I can also select the shape underneath. So I want the black shape here. Okay, this shape also. Shift M to get the shape builder. And then I can just go ahead and punch those pieces out there. In fact, I could probably do that for a few different things here. There are some shapes there that could be dealt with in that way. Now, why is that? That should be a whole shape. There, this one isn't, so we'll just turn that into that. Just double check that one. And then just try again with the shape builder. And that's strange. Well, it's not strange. It's because it's coming out of this path at the top. So Command 2 to lock that. I'm going to ungroup that just there. That's part of the problem. Now if I select everything, switch back to the shape builder with the Option key held down, this should now behave in the anticipated manner. In fact, you know what? I don't need those middle bits in there. Don't know why I was preserving those. There we are. It's because I've drawn them that way underneath. I'm watching the drawing underneath. And I need to just go ahead and get rid of these. Now, that's good. There we go. That's much more like it. Groovy. There we are. So that's working. Go ahead and select that and select the same color. And then just tap or select black as a fill color for that and do a quick save. So that's working. I can unlock this one. Option Command 2 is the quickest way to do that because I've just got the one thing there, and we can change this stroke to a black line, and I'm actually going to outline that as well. So using my own shortcut to do that. Now we're in limb territory. We've got 13 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another layer, which I'll just call limbs. Why not? We'll take that to the top of that, kind of important. I'm going to hit the layer target just here. Okay, so what my friend Von calls the meatball. I wonder if he still calls it that. Now, he's lost like tons of weight. Oh, I didn't do the triquetra. Okay, I'm going to have to very quickly work on this triquetra. So there's a few different ways I could do that, but I'm going to do it with just straightforward strokes here. So I'm switching to the pencil tool, and then I'm going to draw this in like so, just there. But I'd like it to look a bit more like a Celtic motif. I'm just going to increase the stroke weight here, which should change the colour of that. The thing is now is that it's on the other layer and the opacity is changing. There we are. Okay, so now I've got that like so. I could model these ends if I wanted to. So I could take this point here, for example. I've got another tool which would allow me to move that along a path. But that tool is not with me today. Let's bend this one out. And bend this one. There we go. Get this one and change the handles. Holding down the Option key here so I can split the handles and control them independently. I've got to watch very carefully what I'm doing underneath. There. Okay, that is good. Okay, so I'm going to move this out to the side by a pre-measured amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. So I know how much I have moved that out by. I'm then going to outline that stroke. Okay, I'm going to tap D on here like so. Oh, I've missed an essential step. I'm just going to go with it, I think. Okay, so what I could do here is join these things together. So I think I've not left myself enough time to draw that triquetra in the way I would like to draw it. So I'm going to beg your leave and just not do that when I missed one step out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. That's now on. I can bring that down onto the layer underneath. I can select the shape just there. Shape builder on. Option key down. Poof, out that goes. So that's all good. Right, I can lock my draw layer here. Now we can go on and get some limbs going. I think I'll draw these freehand. So otherwise, it would be just a matter of bending shapes around. Oh, and I'm going to talk about that tail in a second. How to possibly... Oh, man. I really trying to draw on a layer that is active. Just desperately looking around for my glove. I think I'm going to change the artboard orientation here just for a minute. Make it slightly easier on myself to draw. Okay, so I just thought of a nicer way to do this. I'm actually going to start from the inside, like so. Let's just make sure you can see what I'm drawing. There we are, and then I'm going to continue from there. Just around like that. I'm overdrawing there purposely. I want to draw the other half here. Top prize is if you guess what's coming next. It means you're becoming ninjas. There we go. Drawing that part. Just going to get my... actually, I'll just hit the escape key. Just to change that around again and draw this last piece in. I'll do it in 2 stages. Here we go. Like so. Whoops, a daisy. And right now we're having ninja troubles. I'm going to draw part of that. That's not bad at all. Not bad. It's not super brilliant, but it's not bad. This end I'm going to draw over like so. Drawing in. I'm going to remodel that part of that path actually. There we are. Now I'll carry on and draw up to there. That's working quite well. Okay, getting the direct selection tool here, making sure that this, oh, look at that extra line. We've had that happen before. Going to get to my pen tool and remove that point. We've got a couple of points on top of each other. That does happen. Sometimes bring this one down. So direct selection tool here. Bring that in and then get the control handle and bring that out like so, just so it's roundish. Right, so what we're going to use next is, if I go to the pencil tool and to its friends, I'm going to use the join tool here. If you knew that was coming, that is excellent. That way I can just brush across these things and it will join those things and close gaps like so. Okay, so we've got that one. That's nice. I now need a shape for the, or an outlining shape for this. I'm going to use the path. If I've got it selected, this would work so much better. I'm so sorry. Path. Offset path. So at the moment it's thinking -28, I can't draw that path. So it needs to get into the regions of positive. There, like so, something like that. That's just fine. That it doesn't conform exactly to my drawing is not an issue at all. Okay, but that's giving me that consistent weight around those shapes. I can then get in here with my scissors and cut the parts away I don't want. So I just want down here, like so, delete and delete to get rid of the extra anchor point. Same thing here, delete just there. Then there's a couple of different ways I can do it. I can do it with the pencil tool like this. If I wanted to, I could even leave that overlap on just there. So I'm going to do that from here like that. Let's get that on just there. Go back to the join tool. The join tool doesn't work with selected objects, so you have to make sure that your selections are gone. Okay, so turn selections off like so. The only place that went critically wrong was just there, and that could be resolved by just brushing over that with the pencil tool like that. Good hygiene is key. It is. There's another thing I need to fix just here, which is this particular path just there. But for the moment, I'm so sorry. For the moment, okay, not going to worry too much. Okay, so I've got this one here. This looks like what we're going to end up with is just one leg. Just for the moment, this one can be have the fill and stroke transposed. The eraser, so Shift E, is another way that I could add those things in. Normally, mind, I'd make it slightly bigger than it is just right now. So let's do something like that. So I could just erase those parts, which might work really, really well. Depends. Just need to make sure you're not leaving any strays. That's the only thing. Doing it with a brush that's too small, which is what I was doing here. Yeah. Probably not the best idea. And again, this is something where I can add some smoothness to as well if I want to. The line just here, so the outer line there, I'm going to take both of these down onto the draw layer. So I need to unlock that, take them down onto the draw layer. So I'm just dragging the proxy region. Now they'll look strange at first because the appearance of that layer has been modified to change the opacity. We can now bring that back up to the top like so. Okay, now hopefully, all right, okay, that's not, let's change the weight of this line segment and try and get those things unified. Spotted another problem just here, but again, not difficult to fix. Selecting that there and there, deleting those two parts. Join tool should actually fix those for me. It should work that one out. There you go, it did. And just there, I've got another segment which has gone crazy. It's looped over itself and spawned a whole new path. That needs a tiny bit of fixing. Shift C to switch to the anchor point tool. That's good. That works pretty well. So I am going to outline this path just here. Okay, so now that's a shape, and then I'm going to hold down the get the selection tool, hold down Shift, select some other bits that I want to work with to get rid of those shapes. Shift M for the shape builder. Interesting. I'll try that again, this time with feeling. There we go. And now we should. I'm just going to do Command A, so I've got the whole shooting match here. Just punch these bits out. There we are. And I can always drag across these to join, by the way, if I want to later on, to make them into one shape. Very good. Again, I'm just apologising here to the people who are watching on LinkedIn and not managing to chat with me. We've had some problems with LinkedIn. So that needs to come out, that needs to come out. This section here needs to come out. Okay, then these things can be joined together if I want to, as can those. These segments here. In fact, you could even probably use area mode on this. Hold down Shift and drag, and you can see it could create an area. However, the minute you go into that white area just beyond it, that magic could be over real quick. And there we are. We are most of the way through the Cosmo Dragon. Just there, and I think at that we'll stop. I'll draw the other one and pop this on Instagram later on. But thank you so much for joining me. Okay, everyone, that's it. We are out of here. Bye.